Hello, Curious. The doll of Chucky with its red hair, eyes staring at you, and demonic smile is one of the most famous faces in horror movies. It was terrifying viewers since 1988 when it first appeared on cinema screens. However, few people realize that the story is not a fiction and the character of the movie was inspired by a real toy that turned the life of an American family into a horror film over 100 years ago. And these events were much more terrifying than that of the Chucky doll screening. And what exactly was going on in Florida in 1906? What was the prototype of the Chucky doll that was haunted believed to be capable of? Or did it have murderous instincts and took the life for fun? How is it possible that it survived to this day and unexplained things are still happening around it? Stay with us until the end to meet the ghostly doll with the innocent sounding name Robert, but before we get into it, don't forget to click the subscription button, turn on the notifications, and give this episode a thumbs up. At the Otto's house in the town of Key West, Florida, nothing unusual happened until the day when little Robert Eugene, who lived there, received a straw-stuffed doll as a gift. It was quite large, wore a sailor suit, and it was a gift from a housekeeper. However, no one was aware that the woman practiced black magic and voodoo with the help that she cast a curse on the toy, in the way that she wanted to take revenge on her employers for bad treatment and bringing misfortune to the whole family. However, before any tragic events happened, the gifted boy made friends with his new playmate, and he named the doll after his name, and that is Robert, and he took it with him everywhere. The parents were very happy, and the innocent-looking doll did not raise any suspicions in them. One night, the Otto couple heard an unfamiliar voice from their son's bedroom and a terrifying giggle. As soon as they ran into the room, their eyes saw an even more terrifying sight. There were toys scattered on the floor, the furniture was not in place, and their only child was sitting on his bed crying and repeating the same words over and over again. Robert did it, pointing at the doll in the corner at the same time. Initially, however, they considered it a fragment of the child's imagination, and although they could not explain it in any way how the little boy was able to bring his room to such a state, it never occurred to them that it might be the effect of an action of bad powers. And unfortunately, similar events began to repeat themselves. And at night, an unidentified voice was heard and screams were heard. And these ghostly incidents had prompted nearly all the servants to quit their jobs. Word spread very quickly about a haunted doll, and as the Otto family tried to find new employees, people were too scared to come to their house. With time, it was even worse because when the family was leaving the house, the neighbors reported that they saw a figure staring at them in the windows, which looked exactly like Robert's doll. Several people who saw it up close even claimed that the toy blinks its eyes and changes its facial expressions. The Otto family did not get rid of it, however, as their son insisted that it remains in the mansion, and over time, the doll's terrifying actions focused on all of those who decided to harm it. And one day, when a close cousin came to visit the Otto family and heard about what was happening in their house, they suggested that Robert, stuffed with straw, be locked in the attic, or at least for the duration of their stay. In fact, it was, and an elderly woman left this world in her sleep that very night. Although there was no evidence that the doll was responsible, the Otto couple decided to move it back into their son's room again, fearing that it would still take the toll of death. And unfortunately, a haunting didn't end there. Every person who has entered the household and dared to say a bad word on the toy experienced misfortunes such as road accidents or loss of a job or a divorce. At night, you could still hear the demonic giggles or the sounds of footsteps and running, and even though all household members were lying in the bed at the same time, the doll moved around the house inexplicably and was found in a completely different place than where it had been left. The behavior of the son of the Otto family had also become very puzzling, because very often you could hear him talking to the toy and talking to it as if it was giving him an answer. However, he actually never admitted that he heard the toy's voice, and even when he was becoming an older boy, he would not go anywhere without his ragdoll favorite toy. And as an adult man, he decided to give him his own room. Robert Eugene Otto became an outstanding artist and lived in his family home until the last day of his life. After he left this world in 1974, his beloved doll was locked in a trunk in the attic. It was there that Myrtle Reuter found it, who decided to buy the Otto mansion, not realizing what horrific incidents had happened in it. And she also did not know that the toy was capable of such things, and as it turned out, did not intend to give up on the shocking actions. And when she was taken into the arms of Miss Reuter's 10-year-old daughter, the girl suffered from night terrors, and all their other dolls were mutilated. And it was not the end of that horror movie, as the new owner said to have experienced attacks from the doll, and her beloved dog was found on the noose thrown around their neck. The family decided to lock Robert again in the attic, but when this happened, the sounds of footsteps and running could be heard all night. One morning, it was learned to discover that a horrifying thing had happened, and somehow it had left the attic and was found on the couch in the living room. Mr. Reuter decided to find out if similar incidents had occurred in the household before. In the press clippings he found in a local library, he learned the history of the Otto family. Because of this, he realized that the doll named Robert was very well known throughout the town, and he decided to take it to the local Fort East Martello Museum. It was 1994 then, so imagine if the doll was still there with one of the props. So anyone can pay a visit to Robert, and rumors have it that visitors who don't respect it and ask for permission before the photo is taken will fall victim to the curse. And some guests even write letters to the doll apologizing for being disrespectful because they are convinced that they have experienced great misfortune because of it. Besides, employees of the museum in the Key West also talk about mysterious incidents that take place around the toy. It's reported to be found in various positions despite the fact that no one has opened the case. Moreover, in the room where the doll is, there are serious disturbances in the operation of cameras and electrical appliances. The legend of the doll named Robert continues, and it's said that in the 1980s it became an inspiration for filmmakers. And although Tom Holland, the director of the first part of Chucky, has never officially confirmed that Robert is the prototype for his character, the viewers had no doubts that there was a connection between these demonic dolls. And as many years ago, a rag toy was a terrifying thing in Florida, after the premiere of the first film about Chucky, the title of the character was hailed as one of the most terrifying heroes of horror movies ever. The story of a killer doll into which the ghost of a serial killer enters has returned to cinema screens 7 times, including the latest sequel in 2019. So Chucky has been haunting for several decades now, and its prototype sits locked behind the thick glass in the museum in American town of Key West. It attracts visitors from all over the world. And would you, curious, have the courage to see a demon doll with your own eyes? Did the red-haired toy from the famous horror movie ever keep you awake at night? And do you agree that Chucky is one of the scariest movie characters? And as always, we're waiting for your comments below, so please click the subscription button, leave a thumbs up, and we'll be back tomorrow with a brand new episode.